Travis is out in Texas goofing off. So I'm just sort of going to lead this one this month. He's going to lead the one next month. I think. Anyway. So what we wanted to do is just sort of see what everybody's been doing during COVID. And, you know, bring in some projects, see all the cool things that you invented while you weren't, while you were cooped up in your shop, hopefully. And go from there. So Howard brought this big mechanical nightmare thing over here. I want him to show that because I'm interested in mechanical nightmares. Hang on. Yeah, can you just? Oh, yeah, that's fine. Oh.
We were bored, always wanted a rotary. So I built one. This was purchased from China. $350. Right, so I'm gonna go to the bridge by my museum. I had that left over from how I learned how to do this by the ornamental mill 20 years ago. So I knew I could do spiral columns, hollow, and stuff. So anyhow, I did a video on YouTube. It shows cutting up all the metal, putting it all together. It shows going into a key card and doing the rotary job so that, you know, we can turn this. And we also showed how to wire the whole thing up.
What do you want to do?
Is that a camera?
Yeah, that's the camera. A close up.
Okay. That's kind of hard. Anyhow, you know, it's pretty basic. You know, you got your motor in this CNC machine I bought from Avid. It was a computer parts at the time. I ordered it with the fourth axis already built into the controller, which is just another card to put in. And it had a DB9 button like you see on a lot of your computers and everything. So in the video I show wiring this up. There's only 4 wires. It just so happens the color of the wires that are on this thing are the same color that go into the controller. That was kind of easy. And literally I thought it was going to take all day to just get it to move. And I took it out of the box, I put the plug on, I plugged it in, went to my controller, and started turning, and it was like, crap. 20 minutes later, it was already moving, and I was like, okay, now I can go drink beer. Putting the rest of it together, you know, you had to change like your Mach 3 settings or whatever you use to control your CNC, but it's all just a matter of making those changes, and you know, I did this last night, CNC to show you can do it horizontal, around, you can go at an angle, I can carve in a line. You know, I did one real deep one that I made, the very first one, and it said San Diego Pine Woodworking Association. But the letter, after I got it all done, and it was about that deep into a bigger piece, I get it all done, I think, well, that looks kind of funny, but I printed them backwards. So I went back into Mach 3, and sure enough, there was one setting, and there was a little box you could check next there. And I'm thinking, that looks like that might reverse it. And I changed that and went back in, and that's all it took to get that working right.
So you cut all the metal for that?
I cut all the metal, yes.
I love how you're talking about this like it was just like nothing, and for me it seems like you invented like this pretty magnificent
Well, you watch the video
apparatus,
and you'd be amazed at how easy it really was.
Yeah.
I know when you look at it as a whole, it don't look like it would be easy, but like cutting all these rails, I bought a $49 blade to go on my miter saw, cut through the aluminum like it was easier than cutting through wood. And even in the video, I made a comment like, damn, that was easy. Because I had 1/2-inch plate right here, and I thought I had to put it on the CNC and mill it out, which I'd had to, write up, everything to do that.
Yeah.
I think, well, I think I can just cut it with the saw. Sure enough, 2 cuts and you got your pieces. And so it was a lot easier than you would think it would be. And like a lot of this stuff, of course, it's always easy when you figure it out and then you're done and but it's not as hard as you think it is. Because, it all breaks down to some basic things that you're doing. And like I took the class for the CNC here about 2 years ago. And I couldn't go in and use the CNC machine here because I ended up buying one. Now I know how to use mine, but I'd have to retrain myself to use the one in there. But it would all be pretty similar. But so 2 years ago, I knew nothing about CNC. And now I feel like, it's so comfortable with it. It's like nothing anymore. So, but to do this one, like I say, it started off as a square piece. You had to round it off first, and that was putting one program in the V card to round it off. And then to get these spirals, basically just think of this turning at about that pace, and then the blades always going in straight down, but it's going down as it's going in, and that's how you get a spiral. And then, you start one here, the next one starts here and goes around, and the next one starts here. So there's 3 of them. And then to get it hollow in the center, you basically, I just went with the same lines that were in the drawing, and I used a straight bit, and I went down about 1/8 inch beyond the center point and did that in all 3. And then it ended up being hollow in the center. And I liked that for a while, but then I figured, well, gee, it's hollow in the center. I can drill a hole here and put a glass rod in there. And I did, and I'll show you why. Put the glass rod in. So that it would glow. And I realized I probably have to put one on top, and one on the bottom to really get it even all the way through. But you would have never thought of doing that to start with, but then you just get kind of carried away and you say, oh, maybe that might work.
There runs some yellow wire through there. It's all off.
Okay, come on,
Yeah.
shut off the light.
Hey, Howard,
Yes.
the microphone was not working in the very beginning, and Neil and I didn't get the basics on this. Is this a rotary that you built from scratch for your CNC?
Yes.
Wow. Did you do a design that you purchased, or did you do it from scratch, or how did you do it?
Scratch. I bought the head unit and I bought the tail stock. It comes as together. Let me shut my thing off here before I have to smash my phone.
You run a CNC, but can't turn off.
No, I can't turn off the flashlight. There's a lot of things in life like that.
We make a good team.
So anyhow, I bought the tail stock and the headstock and the tail stock. That was about $340. I got about another $100 and some in parts. So the whole thing cost me under $500. The one that Avid sells, it looks very similar to this, and they sell it for $2,700, and it doesn't do anything this one. So, nice little savings there.
Yeah,
And
really.
it didn't work. I was out $340, and I'd have probably sold that to somebody else that thought they was going to build it.
And Howard, you pitched this to your wife to justify it how?
The wife, I got the UPS truck, the FedEx truck. They're there 3 times a day. She ain't telling me nothing.
Lucky man.
Saved $2,400.
I saved $2,400.
That's the message.
Went out and spent real quick. So
What's your Z on your CNC machine? Because you set that on the table of your CNC machine,
Yes.
or you mount it below it?
no, I got a desktop and I can't lower it down below. And so the real limiting factor is I can only do a board just slightly bigger than this. If I was able to mount it down lower, I would have to make it wider, because if you put a square board in here, the corners are going to hit here. So if you want a larger board, you're going to have to make it wider. And I just didn't have the room to do that. But I did want to be able to make a leg that I could use on a coffee table or whatever. So everybody usually uses the x-axis. I'm using the y-axis so I can get the full length of the 36 inches I have. And you notice this is a lot more than 36 inches, but when I slide this down, the space in between is about 35
Right.
inches and something. So, you know, I can do some pretty nice stuff with this little cheapy thing. And now I'm trying to figure out how to make the laser that I added to the CNC machine to laser it in the
You should be
round.
able to do it.
Well, that's what I thought, but the first time I tried, it didn't work.
Or what do you use for control? Is it just a gerbil?
No, I mean,
controller?
no, if it was gerbil, it'd be easy.
Oh.
No, I'm using my controller that controls the CNC for my laser, which it works on flat, so I should be able to get it to the curve, but I haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
Just a matter of figuring it out.
So during my COVID experience, I bought basically the same thing that Howard did for my laser, because my roller that I normally did glasses with and stuff like that doesn't do mugs.
Yeah.
My son wants mugs done. Well, you got a handle in the way. So you can only do like this much if you don't roller. So I bought basically the in stock and that piece, but for the laser, it's a lot smaller unit because it doesn't have to turn as much. You just turn the weight of whatever you've got in there. I haven't got it fixed. That's my next process, is to get it mounted on something so I can put it in the laser.
When I had the metal already, but you know, anybody that's looking for that kind of type of metal, it's called 80/20. That's the name of the company. And they sell all kinds of these pieces of metal. It's like a erector set. You can build just about anything. And you can cut this with a normal chop saw. Just get a aluminum blade that's $40. And you know, you don't have to have anything special to mill this stuff. And so you can put, if you want to make stuff, you have everything that you have available to do it. So
Mine is, I want to make sure that that this portion, that this piece here, the handle can come through. So I'm gonna put just probably a piece of flat plate and then build each end up.
yeah.
So I'm still not sure I'm good, but that hopefully maybe is this winter's work.
Yep. So that's it. That's what I did.
Cool. Anybody else bring something really neat? Not so neat, a little bit neat.
I brought something a little bit.
Okay, a little bit neat. Oh, Dan brought pictures.
That's about it. See if we can see the picture there. Uh-oh, too much reflection. There we go. There you go.
A beautiful
So
box.
I built a music box and used the laser to put the signet on the top. So you don't have to build something magnificent, huge.
That's a lot easier to carry out.
Yeah.
Dan, can you tell us about the joinery in the corners?
It's the box joint, the square.
Square
using
simple
a
box joint?
router
Cool.
and a template, and you push them through it, lines them up, and you get some very good joints that are, I would say, as good as a dovetail, and they still have a very nice appearance to them.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, box joints work great.
Jeff's got something back here. He's gonna.
Is that digital? Was that digital, or was that you did it on like a table saw, or? I used a router table to do the box joints. Used a table saw to do the minor joints. Yeah, not a lot on the electronics on this box, just that simple part.
Yeah, if you want a router expert, he's in the top right now.
Jeff taught me how to do box joints.
So this is not COVID, this is just something I've been doing recently, learning the shaper origin, which we just bought for the shop and we'll be starting to teach classes on. But there's this cool little joint that I'll pass around that everybody can see. You can see the contrasting.
So cool.
You did that with the shaper origin?
This is with the shaper origin.
Turn it to the side, Jeff, so we can see the, no, just see, we can see the side of the box.
Oh,
Better light. Yeah, there
Those
you go.
are like old fashioned joints.
This is, there we go. Yeah, this is actually called a nap joint and it was invented in the late 1800s, late 17th
And
century.
there's
There
a
were,
contour. You see the contour on that?
pardon?
Trying to get the focus, with the inside or reveal, I should say.
Yeah. So I'm setting up, I've got the files, I'm learning how to use the shaper origin. I didn't quite get the whole box made in time for Saturday because there were other things going on this week. But this takes the cutting of the joint, and it also takes some tooling to get the pieces in repeatably in the same spot. And so I'm going to be working on that over the next few days. And this will be, once this is set up on the shaper origin, you'll be able to take work pieces and just, use the files that are already set around there. I'll pass, so this comes apart.
You have to be able to mount one vertically.
Yeah. It goes together really well. For gluing, I might have to make this a little bit looser. But it just shows how precisely that handheld shape origin super router CNC combination can cut joints.
So could you use that same file on the CNC machine back here?
No, not the same.
Okay.
Well, actually, you'd have to convert it to the CNC format. The design comes out in an SDG file.
Okay.
So yes, you could.
Hey, could I take this opportunity to turn into a little promotion here? Jeff was very modest in the way he just sort of slipped in this new tool and classes coming up. This Shaper Origin tool is really phenomenal. He keeps wanting to call it a handheld CNC, which is probably closer to a good description than what I've been saying. He's been learning to use it because in the month of October, he's going to be teaching a class meant for people who already know how to use CNC. We have it in the shop. It is wonderful for joinery. Kinds of things that you can do with it, for instance, are box joints, the kinds of Mortise and Tenons, like you just see right there on his really creative version. You can do all sorts of very precise cutting, like for instance, for inlays and for hardware cutouts. It's really a new kind of digital tool, and I expect we'll be seeing more of it, but the first you'll see of it is Jeff offering a class in October, where if you're already a CNC user, he can get you up to speed inside of just a few hours. And then you become certified and then can use the shop's tool. If you haven't seen it, just go to shapertools.com and watch the videos on that page to give a sense of what it does. If Jeff, our SDFWA router expert, is super sold on the tool, I gotta tell you, that makes it a compelling tool. So be sure to talk to him about it afterwards if you wanna know more, because it's gonna be offered in early September on our upcoming class roster, and he's gonna be teaching the first version of it. End commercial.
Okay. Yep, we're looking forward to it. It's like you said, it's a portable CNC machine. It looks like a router and it's got all the computers and the screens and design stuff on there. But it works like a CNC that you can move around and take to your job site. It doesn't need the big CNC installation and dust collection and all that stuff. Really cool.
It doesn't need dust collection?
Well,
Got a vacuum.
you don't need something installed. You don't need a big, dumping and blower and all that. Just hook it up to the dust extractor.
Think of it as a gantry-less CNC. There's no gantry. You don't have to have the X and Y rails to use this thing because it is a handheld machine. The precision comes from the machine making up for your imprecision when you move it around. And it's guided by SVG files.
In reality, it's a computerized handheld router.
Yes.
So it's gonna make just as big a mess as your router does when you hold it. It's just, this is more precise.
The dust collection works really well, as long as you hook it up to.
So it has it has a shock back.
Yeah, you don't need all the big, ducting and all that sort of stuff, but no, it's very clean.
Hey, Jeff, can you tell us a story about that particular joiner that you chose to use, the name of it, when it was invented and when it was used, that kind of thing?
Yeah, this was, I said, it's called a nap joint. It was invented to make drawers in commercial production in the late 1800s, the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. This was something that there were specialized machines that factories, furniture factories would install to basically make these joints and cut them and have the drawers fit together. This predated dovetails. It was easier to do because all the cutting was done with a straight bit. So you could just straight in for this side and straight in for this side, and the two things fit together. Eventually, later on, they were able to do machine-produced dovetails, which were harder to do because the bits, require undercutting and things like that. But this joint is every bit as strong as a dovetail, and I think it looks really cool. For us, it's retro. At the time, it was cutting-edge technology from the late 1800s.
Overcut. I mean, how much? Because I'm assuming you'll get a lot of glue squeeze out and you'll.
Yeah, I probably need to trim a little bit, another couple thousandths off the joint to give room.
For
It
glue.
slides together really tightly right now.
Yeah.
But if you put glue in there, it might bind up. So I need to experiment, with how much glue joint I need to leave in there. So didn't quite get it, the whole box done for Saturday, but I think I did pretty good for 1 week.
Jeff, when you first saw this tool and you would have heard somebody say, take a few thousandths off, you probably thought it was preposterous, right? Do you believe it now that you can have that kind of precision?
Oh, absolutely. When Travis did the demo, he would cut this little pocket in there and try and fit that hardware in and go, oh, okay, we need another thousandth or another 2 thousandths off. So you take the tool again and you dial in your little, I want 2 thousandths more off that. You run it around the path and it does it. It is incredibly repeatable, which is, I was astounded that you could do that with a handheld router cut tool.
Yeah. And there was a question.
So how long did it take to cut, like?
To actually
half
cut the
that or
joint,
all of one joint?
probably 5 to 10 minutes. Because it's 1/2 inch, I have to do it, it's a cutting with an 1/8 inch bit, so I have to cut all the way through the 1/2 inch material. It takes 4 passes. So you cut the scallops in 4 passes, and then when it does the little holes, this is another little thing, is the hole is just slightly larger than the 1/8 inch bit that I'm using. So it's programmed, it's got a little program built into it, says, I want a hole that's 0.15 inches in diameter. So you just put it there and it kind of goes, spirals down until you get to the right depth, and you have a perfect hole, whatever diameter you want.
Did you have any trouble with those pins breaking off?
Nope.
Yeah.
I think I made them big enough that they were not defragile. You see, I can take it apart and put it back together.
Yeah.
But I could set, if I wanted 0.16 diameter pins, I could do that. So there's a lot, just like any CNC thing, there's a lot of design decisions that have to be made. But once you get the file, it's easy to reproduce.
All right.
Okay.
We will be looking for the class. The class thing comes out next
October.
So it's the October class, but I think they said it's gonna come out, the class listing is gonna come out the 7th of September, I think.
Yes.
So, all right, does anybody else have anything cool? Nothing else cool? Well, I got a whole pile, because I never can come without a whole pile of stuff. So,
I don't know if I'd say they're.
oh, there they go.
One of the guy here. One of the things I taught the beginning class, and now we're doing the cutting board, and also in other things, I get really frustrated because you have to go find if you want to do a round corner, you have to go find a cup or a paint can or whatever. So I just used the laser and just did the radius from 1/8 to 2 inches. So now whatever radius you want, you just draw it on it.
So you just put Rockler out of business because they charge like $100 for that set of
Yeah.
radius
Yes.
corners. Yeah.
And I mean,
Here, hold them up here so we can.
and doing them on the doing the programming was an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really nothing. So
And I'm sorry, was this for your cutting board class in the intro that you teach?
that was kind of where it started.
Yeah.
But also it's just me getting frustrated all the time of, like I said, go find a paint can that you want to do a radius on something.
Got it. Thanks.
So it just solves that.
And it's
problem.
never the same.
And it's
You can't get all 4 corners the same with the paint can for some reason.
Yeah, exactly.
It's round,
Yeah.
it should be able to.
The other thing I did was, my wife actually saw this online, so I copied it, so it's not my design, but it's our opinion of last year. Pardon the language.
Yeah, it's a little, if you don't like language, it's
If
a
you don't
adult
like-
language.
If you don't like language, please forgive me.
So
Chris,
here, but that was last year. You have to have this year.
I haven't seen this year.
Focus, there we go.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there you go. Very nice.
Nice.
Well,
I carry these in my pocket and I give them away.
Oh. Speaking of giving things away, all of you probably have seen the little reindeer we do. That's one of those little ones. I did probably 150 of them last year. Just when I maybe do stuff, I'd throw some more on there. And I just walk around wherever I was and just give them away.
Yeah, they're great. Did you do the card? So it's in a card or did you
No,
make
I
them?
just
Oh, you
actually
make them?
made them and everything and give them away to kid, people or wherever we are.
So-
It's really nice.
So I make these little coins. They're like challenge coins and it says Santa's elves and it's got something else in it. And I carry a pot at Christmas time. I carry, but starting about Thanksgiving, carry them around, hand them out. I was sitting at the Fallbrook Cafe one morning and there was a dad and his dad, and then two kids sitting there, and they were about 7 or 8 years old, and they were giving dad a ration of crap about Santa Claus isn't real. Well, in December, I let my beard get a little bit longer. And as we were walking out, I took 2 of those coins, I put them upside down, I set them in the middle of their table as I walked by, and I said, Santa is real, and just kept walking. And my wife was like, we got outside, we paid the bill, and we walked outside. She goes, look at the window. And these 2 kids were like,
Yeah, one of the things I didn't bring, part of the reason I haven't brought a lot is because I gave it all away. But challenge coins, something this big, I actually did coins for a friend of mine teaches engineering and physics at a high school in Central California, and they do the first robotics. And I did like coin for them with their team logo and all that stuff on it. Doing double-sided like coins, the way I did them, I don't know how you're doing them, but to do something, particularly something that's round and you want to do both sides, what I do is I etch the first side and then I cut a square out and I take it and I just turn it over and put it back into its spot, etch the other side and then cut them out.
I do mine a little
And
bit
it
different.
works really well.
I do the front, the back, the front, the back, the front, the back in a matrix. And I etch that, and then I cut, and then I flip them over. So I just move them down one slot and the
Right.
bottom one to the top, and then turn the cut off and then just etch the other side.
Right,
So it's the same difference.
it's the same thing. Mine, I just do like 5 or 6 of them in a row and you just turn the whole thing over. It's just.
It's one way or the other. Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was my fun.
So this has been my fun for, I don't know, a while. I've really got into the whole layer thing on the laser with laser here. You want to do it? I just walk around. So start out with this is my oldest one, and you guys may have seen this one. It's a cow. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers. I was going to bring my Star Wars Ewok one that's about 2 foot by 3 foot. That I don't know. It's 12 by 20. I was gluing it up and I forgot it's laying on my bench. So I'm a terrible finisher, painter, all of that. So all of my stuff for the holiday gift sale, I give it to Gary. He takes it home to Peggy and she paints it for me. But I actually did this one myself because you can use I used a gray stain on the back and just a flat black on the front, and then some orange and white on the inside there. I contacted the lady that made this pattern and told her she needs to make Christmas ones. This is my newest. This is a Phoenix, and I attempted paint on this too. So let's see if I can. Does it get better contrast?
How many layers on that one, Alan?
Oh my gosh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 layers.
Wow.
But it was only 2 sheets of 12 by 20 because the way you can lay it out. Unlike this one, See if I-
That's cool.
These are every important building in the world. Supposedly is what the lady said. It's got, you know, everything that's tall. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's 7 layers, but 3 of the layers are just rings. I just made a ring and I cut quarters so I could get it all, and I wouldn't use as much wood that way, and glued it together.
An Etsy panel or
Yeah.
Pinterest?
Etsy. I do a lot of Etsy patterns, and I'm cheap. If it's over $5, I won't do it.
Yep.
So then we got the Star Wars collection here. The reason the Star Wars collection sort of came about was somebody in the club made a TIE fighter and had next door last year for the holiday gift sale. And some guy came in and was not going to take no for an answer. He was going to buy that thing. So we sold it to him for a lot of money. And I think we could have made more money too. But anyway, he wanted it for his daughter, and his daughter was there. And if I'd have known that, I'd charge him 3 times as much. But so we started doing some Star Wars stuff for this year. My Santa Claus ornament here is 4 layers. And then this is sort of sexist, but this is the Mrs. Claus one. I didn't draw it, so it's not my problem. This was my attempt at tricking Travis to thinking I could carve.
Very
If you look
cool.
at that, it's all an optical illusion. That's just 3mm
Wow.
Baltic birch. And if you mount it onto a board, that's how I sort of trick Travis. Let's see if I
Wait,
can.
Alan, you got to tell us more about that. That is such good grayscale. What did you do that on your laser at home?
Yeah, I did this on my laser at home. I tried it here and got to try to do a little bit bigger one, and it didn't work well with green laser. But that was before we changed to tube too. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I might be able to get a bigger one.
But these are really good results, Alan. I mean, we're looking at through video, Neil and I, but that does create the illusion of 3D, and your shading is really good. Was it just a light burn? Was it a black and white image? How did you tell us a little bit about your process?
There's a guy on Etsy that sells these patterns, and they're just grayscale patterns. Some of them are better than others. I bought 2 others from him. Neither one of them came out this quality, and I've mucked with them for a long time.
Are they
So
grayscale specifically for laser?
yes,
And you just did normal light burning?
yep, just did a normal light burn. I cut a square, or it was a picture. The pattern was just the picture, so it just came out square. So I had to put the cut lines around the cross to get it to come
Yeah,
out.
it's stunning, Alan. That looks really fantastic.
So, and then I believe in alcohol and Christmas time, because there you go. They have every company Christmas party I ever went to that we had some kind of gift exchange, the alcohol went first, you know. So I bought this, and I buy a lot of patterns just to see how they go together. How did this guy keep this bottle in this pattern? Well, I'll take it apart here. So
Get out of the way of the.
okay.
Something like that.
So if you push the back side, I'm gonna end up breaking it, but you push the back side of this, it's just got a ring, and it's got 2 like hooks. It's just a little bit bigger than the inside diameter of this, so it actually pushes out the ornament. When it pushes out the ornament, it also squeezes down right here. When it does that, you can sort of see it when I do that. So that was the reason I bought it, was so I could see how that worked.
Were those at the holiday gift sale last year?
No. This is something brand new I just did. You gonna hang on to it? Okay. So this is the So then it's like, oh, let's see if I hold it still long enough that it'll focus. Focus. Let's see. There, now it's going to focus. Anyway, it's just Santa's little pick me up. There you go. But once you get the idea, you can go make all kinds of stupid stuff then, you know. So I'm still working on some of those. The oh, and then the last thing I had here, the last couple of things, these things here, focus, are tea bag holders. Because we were making all this stuff for the holiday gift sale, and they picked all these, tea boxes and tea bag holders and all that stuff. And Travis didn't believe anybody drank tea, so he didn't think they would. So these, they're made out of acrylic, a 3mm acrylic, and they just sit down over the cup on your cup, and then you hold the tea bag string up here. I had the cat one, and then another sexist one here. You know, it's got to do this. This is the trucker one. I don't know how many truckers drink iced tea. That pattern was there, so I had to cut it. You know, it's a rule. If it's there, you have to cut it. Then we did some of these banks. This is the one-eyed purple. Was supposed to be their purple people eater, I think. Now my grandson wants it to become purple now that it's painted and put together, because he's into the one-eyed, one-horned purple people eater thing. It's got the
Like 42 or something?
no, I don't know where he got that. He's 5, but he heard that song, and now that's all I hear him sing all the time. Matter of fact, I came home last night and he had drawn a one-eyed purple people eater on his arm as a tattoo. But
Alan, is the money easy to get out of this one?
no, the money's not as easy to get. There is no out on this. So what you have to do is you have to turn it up like this and slide it down, and hopefully it slides out the slot. So this is my, I saw some Hot Wheels truck holders. It looks like a truck, and it holds Hot Wheels cars. Display case. So I said, why can't we do that with Legos? So I got this, and there's going to be 2 of these in the holiday gift sale. Peggy's going to paint them, make them look better than mine. I just don't do paint well. But some of these, if anybody wants, like the animals and the Lego guy, and some of my liquor holders. If you guys want the patterns, email me and I'll send you the patterns. Some of, because they're mine. I don't care if they're mine. If I bought them from somebody else, I sort of like supporting other people. I mean, they don't, like I said, I'm cheap. I don't pay over $5 for a pattern. And 90% of the patterns you can find on Amely.com. It's AMEETE.com. Laser patterns, CNC patterns, they're free. And I've got thousands of them on there. So you can use that, and they're SVG patterns, or they come in DFX, SVG, PDF. Some of them are PDF also, and EPS, which I don't know what EPS uses.
Postscript.
Encapsulated postscript.
Okay. But I know that Lightburn doesn't like it, so and they usually have, some of them have CDR plots also. Sorry.
One of the problems I ran into, especially on that, and I wonder if you've run into it, is that if you cut stuff that's really thin, as in you're cutting very fine lines, with plywood, I've found that it flakes off if you get it too thin.
Yeah.
So what I ended up doing on those a lot was actually using solid wood.
So what I've been doing is, Randy and I both, we just go in and we make the lines a little fatter. Lightburn, if you use node edit on Lightburn, you can do anything you want to a pattern. It may take a little bit extra to mess around with it, but I believe in node edit now on everything. And I don't, and you're right, that's just, oh, that's the other thing I was gonna show you. So I made it, the last thing was this, and that's why, that was a good segue into this piece. So this is a paint can holder. Okay, now, it has a top and a bottom. So this is the top, you have to make this. And this is the bottom, you have to make this. There's a middle piece in here that you can make as many middle pieces as you want. And you can make it hold 50 cans or something, okay? My segue that Wes brought up was I was using this 1/4-inch plywood, and this piece on the center section had 2 bad spots in the plywood. One was, and it ended up being right there, and there was a void. And when I tried to push it together, I didn't see the void. So I didn't fix it beforehand, and it broke. So I didn't get to bring you the middle piece. But this is my
Also, if it were smaller, like a nice spice rack.
you can, that's the cool thing about SVG files. You can make it. Randy asked me this morning, we were talking about some file, I don't remember what it was. Oh, I got a gnome door file. He's like, well, how big is it? I go, it doesn't matter. It's an SVG file. You can make it 10 feet tall if your laser will cut it, or you can make it a 1/2 inch tall. So that's the cool thing about this, which is another segue. We're going to have a Lightburn 101, I think that's what we're calling it, or maybe 201 class. Anyway, it's a Lightburn software class in January that I'm going to teach. When we teach the laser, we teach about just enough Lightburn to get you out there and get, burn stuff. But this is going to be a 1 4-hour class. We're not going to have any laser time at it. We'll have a project that I'll send you home with at the end, basically. But we're going to go through Lightburn for, we'll take a lot of breaks, and we'll do some exercises in class, but we're not going to go out and cut stuff because I want to have more people in the class. And if you have that and you have people out there, it just takes too long to do the little projects during class time.
Yeah, one of the things I did, I took that little reindeer and I made it bigger.
Yeah.
But the problem you run into when you do that kind of stuff is you then have to make sure all of the joint segments come back to scale.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of the patterns that I'm seeing on Etsy, when you bring in the DFX or the SVG file, they've shrunk the pattern. So, or Europeans use 4 and 8 millimeter
3 millimeter.
ply instead of 3 and 6.
And that was actually, I was just thinking of that because if you go to TH&H, I think theirs is 3 millimeter. But if you go out to like Strata, theirs is 1/8 inch. So you need to make sure what wood you get.
Yeah.
Because if you cut a 3 millimeter pattern and try and do 1/8 inch, it's not going to fit. And the other way, it'll be too loose.
Yeah. So the cool thing about that is, and that's what I'm going to show everybody in the Lightburn class, is you can encapsulate the whole pattern and take it up and down by percentages. And I've got good enough now that I can look at it by eye and go, oh, that's 100. That needs to go up to be 103% of itself. Oh, well, one more, go back down one. But you don't have to go in, because what I was doing was going into every one of those 1/8 inch joints and doing a binary fill and fixing them, and that's just way too long.
I would go through and make, like, if I had a fill, I'd have the end line, I'd make that end line my length and then move everything else to match it.
So it's easier to do it with the percentage thing and just learn how to do that. And that's what we'll teach in that class. So.
You were talking about being able to resize things. You gave your example there, but when we promoted your digital tool SIG today, we sent out a little graphic, little picture, and it was just kind of a tease, but the picture was of the same Easter setting with a bunch of bunnies, and it was done at various sizes, and it's just in the room next door. So maybe at the end of this, you want to just tell people.
Can you grab those? They're up on the shelf there. They're eggs.
And I think your story was that they were all one SVG file, and you just decided to make them different sizes, different layers, all
Oh,
sorts.
no, that was a scroll saw pattern, Travis.
Right, right. Then put to good use in the laser.
Oh,
I do have something to show and tell, though, if you guys wouldn't mind sharing the screens.
share, okay, you got it.
Your pen.
So if you can just enable screen sharing there, please, Paul.
Oh, he's gonna share it. He's not going to show it. There's a difference.
Thank you. Let me see if oh, it's not yet. Yeah, you go into the security area, I think, and it's near the.
Hang on, we just got you pinned. We need to unpin you.
Yeah, I feel pinched, not pinned.
There you go.
I'm not screen sharing.
There you go. Now you can. Now you should be able to, Travis.
It says host disabled participant screen sharing. Maybe I've been a bad boy.
That's just because it was you, he says.
I see. So again, in the security button there, if you bring it up, there should be a participant share, which is unchecked. And if you check it, I'll be able to screen share.
Go over to the next to the left, Paul. Security, yeah, click that. And there you go.
Perfect, thank you.
There you go.
Did that work?
I just wanted to share this because I don't know, I feel like in class promotion mode. I mean, Alan came up with a second class to promote, and I made something, but it was in preparation for the Shaper Origin class. Jeff's going to be teaching a class for CNC users, but we want this tool to be used by folks who don't care to use a CNC, but really do want some of the drudgery of fine woodworking removed. This is a picture right here of the Shaper Origin on top of what's called the workstation. And it has all sorts of things you wouldn't expect to see, like dominoes on the surface there, a screen on the router, just things that you wouldn't expect to see. But if you look at the guy's right hand, it's hovering over where he's been making some box joints. And so you can see how the material has the end grain pointing upward, and it has been fastened to the front of this workstation. And he's using the Shaper Origin to cut the box joints. But the reason for this article existing is in September when we start promoting the class, it'll be available. And these three pictures show what I wanted to demonstrate in my show and tell. These are the things that are done in this other class that are meant for folks who aren't CNC users. This right here where my cursor is circling a hardware cutout, very precisely cut to allow for exactly this piece of hardware to be laid into the front face of a drawer. That's just one thing that's great about this Shaper Origin, is being able to do very precise cutouts for hardware. Back over to the first picture, this is a inlay, and again, very precisely cut. This particular veneer, it was 1/28 inch thick veneer that I put in there, never needed to be glued because it was such a tight fit, it all just fit fine. I happened to cut the veneer out using the laser. Another example here, these are tenons that are poking through the mortises that are in the face. So that's an example of yet another thing you can do beyond the hardware cutouts, beyond the inlays. You can do mortise and tenon. And this just is a very basic rectangle with radius for the tenon, and the mortise, you can make it a very tight fit. As Jeff was showing earlier, you can go thousandths of an inch to either side of a tight fit. So that's another thing you do in this class. If you look at this box again now inside, you have stop dados all around the base for the bottom to go in. So that's another thing you do with this tool, is stop dados. And then lastly, this is an example of a tool. Call it a tool. It's really like an app on the Shaper Origin that allows you to very easily do simple box joints. And these are deliberately very tight. Like Jeff's example in the room, these are, you have to struggle to take them apart, but if you needed a glue gap, you would just program that in, add an extra 2 or 3 thousandths of an inch of spacing. This is the project that will be done in the class that is meant for non-CNC users. so that people who love doing fine woodworking, but don't necessarily want to sit there for hours with chisels trying to do hardware cutouts or mortise and tenon, other things they don't like doing, but they want to get great results. This tool is for them, and this class will be for them. And this drawer is my show and tell item that I built simply to have the 4 or 5 things that I felt people would want to be able to use this tool for, the things that would really sell this tool to them. There are other things it does. I have a chamfer on the top and bottom of the face. That's not a biggie for people. All these pieces were cut out very precisely using the Shaper Origin, but it's really the hardware cutouts, the inlays, the mortise and tenons, and the box joints that are like the killer features that we're going to be focusing on in this other class. So I just want to make sure that since I had the opportunity to show a project, I took advantage of it. Thanks, Alan.
Travis, when is that class?
It's actually a 2-parter. It's called Introduction to Shaper Origin, and then then it's called Enjoinery for Shaper Origin, and it'll be taught starting in November. It's because I'm not back in San Diego until November. See how that works? Anyhow, that's what I wanted to show. Thanks.
So this is what Travis was talking about with the rabbit. So this was actually a scroll saw pattern that I converted to an SVG file. And then it became a challenge to see. So I got down to this size. This is all 3mm Baltic birch. But it's like, well, it's too deep, you know, because it got so small, it's still, you can't change the depth of it. So my son owns a comic book store, and in between all the comics comes, I call it shirt board. It's just that really thick cardboard that's single-sided. So this is the same size as that one using that shirt board. And then that's the next size down. That's all the same pattern. All I did was circle it and light burn and say go smaller. You know, part of the reason I did it was every year there's a scroll saw contest, and those deers that you were talking about, there is a compound cut scroll saw deer. Okay, it looks like those, and the contest is how many of those can you get on a dime. These guys are using like 2-aught freaking jewelers scroll saw blades and microscopes, and I think the last time I saw it, it was like 5 on a dime. I made out of wood. So you can make them out of any kind of wood you want, but you have to make them by hand, compound cut, and I make them about this tall. I can't even fathom going that small with. But this is what he was talking about. You can, you know, and you could go up if you wanted to make that egg, you know, 20 inches tall with these lasers out here. Depending, you're constrained by the big one is 46 by 33 or something like that inches. Yeah. But I try and convert it now. I just can't remember. My millimeter ruler is only this long. I have to go to inches if I go above, you know, about 14 inches. So
We're 10:58 right now.
oh, okay. All right. Does anybody else have anything else they want to share?
I got one other thing.
Okay.
You've done everything on the laser, but I got one thing you haven't done.
Okay.
I think you might have. Can you bring that camera over here? We were having a dinner party, once again, bored.
Oh, no.
So I lasered the steaks with the people's names.
Oh, no. That's a good one.
Oh, my God.
So I did do my pumpkin last year.
Yeah.
I put my I did it on a rotary. I put my pumpkin on a rotary, and I put Nightmare Before Christmas
Oh, yeah.
guys all the way around it. And I bought a pumpkin pie, a frozen one,
That was nice.
and I was gonna laser that, and they ate it.
Oh.
Before I got to. It's like, wait, it's not Thanksgiving. Yeah, but it's pumpkin pie. We love pumpkin pie. So they cooked it and ate it. It's like,
Well, my next test is I'm taking a frozen steak. I'm gonna V-carve. Yeah, it was just on the surface.
You're gonna go down into
But
it.
yeah, if I go down in about 1/8 of an inch, then when I cook it, it's still gonna be there.
Yeah,
Oh, my
there you go.
That's wrong. That's what my wife keeps telling me. That's wrong. Don't do that.
So if you remember in the laser class, Travis shows the one where it's they laser cut the sushi paper, the seaweed
Yeah.
that they roll the sushi in. So you can do. I mean, you can do food.
Yeah.
The thing I found out about the pumpkin is it takes basically the skin off. If you do it try and do it any deeper, it just burns it.
Yeah.
So I take the skin off, but then you have to get on the inside to make it light up, and you have to shave that where it's really thin. And I ended up breaking about half the figures, cracking them, trying to get it too thin. So I need a better hollowing method there. Maybe I can put the pumpkin on the lathe.
Yeah, right.
One other thing I didn't bring, but I did, my brother does G-scale railroads. And I actually made a 20-foot ruler that's about 8 inches long. So one of the things that's nice with this, if anybody that does modeling, is just do a scale ruler. And they're really easy on the laser, just lay them out, boom, and it's a 20-foot ruler.
Well, someplace I have carpenter pencils, some back there. They're blank carpenter pencils, and I put I have a millimeter ruler on one, and then I have an inch ruler on the other, and then on the side of it, I wrote, measure twice, cut once. And those are gonna be my stocking stuffers for people. Because you always, it's like, where do I have never have a ruler to do anything with. If you have a pencil, you don't have a ruler, so.
Actually, speaking of rulers, if you work in metric, if you go to the Daiso Japanese store, which is the one there's one next to Rockler, there's one over there. They have 15 centimeter and 30 centimeter steel rulers, and they're like $1.50.
Yeah, and if you walk over to Rockler, they're $23. I harassed Mike about that one time. It's like, why would I? He's like, I'm hoping nobody goes over there and sees this.
I usually buy them out because that friend of mine that teaches math and physics,
Yeah.
I buy them for him because those plastic ones the students are breaking all the time.
So did you recently buy them out? So did you recently buy them out?
Yes, I did.
So it's
I
not
bought them
going
out. I bought them out the other day, about a week ago.
Hey,
All
Aaron?
right, so it's right at 11 o'clock. Does anybody have any suggestions for something they would like to see in the future at these digital SIGs? If you do, you can email me, you can catch me. Email Travis, he's a good guy, he'll take all the email.
I know how to forward to Alan.
Yeah, he does
It'd
too.
be interesting to just a basic discussion on how the grayscale stuff is done.
Now, David's our grayscale expert too, and he's not here today, so we can start, we can look at something like that on the laser too, see how that's what this was. This was literally just grayscale. So.
That'll work, grayscale will work on the CNC jobs as well.
Oh, will it?
Oh, yeah.
Can you do just the depth on the
Right, it'll do the
color, the
different-
depth on the black and white?
So that is.
So you were talking about Lightburn software. You might also think about some of the design software, either Corel or Inkscape or something.
Somebody who's smarter than me on those can have to talk, because I've gone away from all of those now because Lightburn has become so efficient at that stuff.
You can design well enough in there.
The new 1.0, 1.01 version has almost everything that Inkscape has in it. I haven't found anything. The thing that it doesn't have is it doesn't like CDR files. Lightburn doesn't like CDR files yet.
Right.
But
We still get a discount.
yeah, Travis, does Oz still give us a discount on Lightburn?
My license.
Not only does he give us a discount on the purchase, the initial purchase, as we hit 200 trained people in our community, we're at 197, I think. As soon as we hit 200 trained people, he's going to reduce our renewal rate by 75% as well. So you'll be able to renew each time for $7.50 rather than $30.
Oh, what is
So-
the renewal now?
$30. So that's sort of the weird thing. It costs $20 to buy it for the first year, but to renew it, it costs $30. And if you're like, I have 3 computers that's running Lightburn. You only get one when you get the discounted when you only get one, or if you pay $80, you get 2. If you pay $80, those 2 licenses, when you pay $30, both of them get renewed. So
But guys, everything Alan is saying is about to be a moot point. It's going to be dirt cheap to renew. $7.50 is a no pain threshold.
So I know one person that wants to take a laser class. So I got you got
Hey, over here, number two, anybody, number 2. Hey.
Go sign up. So when are you scheduled for a class? You're on a wait list? Are you on the wait list?
I just started, so.
Oh, okay.
Coordinate with you with this hiring?
Hey, Alan, get that guy's name and number.
So, hey,
You mean I'll wait until October? Should we
so-
do it like next week?
can we,
Yeah.
well, I'll work with Scott. I will figure something out.
And if you two want to
Okay.
coordinate, I want to talk to Alan about this hiring for like a 5-minute lesson. And we-
We're not gonna do that, but we'll set up a special class.
Yeah.
Okay,
Hey, Alan,
come back, see me afterwards, and I'll get you all your email addresses, and I'll go talk to Scott, and we'll set it up.
great. Hey, Alan, can I just ask a quick question that has to do with the very early part of today's agenda? At 8:30, our partner Lumbercycle was there selling what are called jointed pairs of live edge wood so that people could buy them and make epoxy river tables. And I was just curious if anybody in the room there came an hour and a half before the Allen show and was able to take part in that. Did anybody there in the room buy a
I think
jointed?
we were all there. Wait, we were all there. Where were you?
I was hiking the Greenland Parkway, okay?
Yeah. No, he had quite a few sets. I don't remember.
Oh, good.
how many, probably like 8 or 9 sets. And I think he sold most of them.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Oh,
So,
Travis.
I feel like I'm in advertising mode again here, but we're trying to get Lumbercycle to come each of our Saturday lineup weekends. That's the last Saturday, to come in at 8:30 with a themed type of wood.
Yeah.
It may be-
So Travis, you're preaching to the choir. Gary already gave us this speech, and he's already
gave you-
agreed to it.
I'm glad he gave you my speech. Okay, thank you very much.
Real quick, Travis, do you have any comment on the Cuttle YZ design, online design application?
Oh, I've actually not used it. Are you
Oh,
talking
right.
about that one wonderful design package that I
That's
shared with you?
web-based, exports to SVG free. It's pretty, you ought to check it out. It's pretty.
What is it?
It's called Cuttle, CUTTLE .YZ.
Okay.
Yeah, weird extension, but it's web-based, very comparable to like a veteran.
Cool.
The other thing I wanted to say too is where I go put it on the website. I did find a good website. It's called PNG to SVG.com. If you have a picture you want to make a vector out of, that thing, man, you just drag it right in, drop it, it makes an SVG file, and it's really good.
PNGs or JPEG?
And it'll do, it's called PNG to SVG, but it'll do, I think, any graphics, anything, any file extension that's a picture type thing.
You can change a JPEG to a PNG.
Hey, here's another weird one that you guys just might be thrilled by if you're into this. It's called thistothat.com. And you choose in 2 drop-down menus, a material that you attach to another material. So aluminum to Baltic birch, or acrylic to tile, or whatever. And it tells you what the best glues are to make that happen. It's called thistothat.com. What a bizarre little niche, but I mean, potentially really handy.
Cool. All right, we're over time. And I'm gonna have to go home and my wife's going to like work parts of my.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Neil, for showing up.